In a world that glorifies hustle and champions constant productivity, we are often told that only through relentless effort will we achieve what we desire. But what if that's only part of the truth? What if success, peace, and even strength don't always arise from pushing harder, but rather from knowing when to yield, when to wait, and when to let go? Welcome to The Art of Effort Without Struggle. Rooted in ancient Stoic teachings and modern understanding, this is a philosophy that invites us to act with clarity and purpose, but without resistance. Drawing from the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, this journey reveals how learning to flow with life, not fight against it, can transform our challenges into sources of wisdom and our efforts into graceful mastery. Let us begin, not with force, but with presence. 1. Releasing control, planting without forcing growth. Imagine a gardener standing in a field at dawn, cradling a handful of seeds. With care, he plants them in rich soil, waters them, and steps back. But rather than trusting the natural course of growth, he returns every hour, digging, poking, overwatering, fretting. He's convinced that his constant involvement will make the seeds grow faster, stronger. But in his anxious need for control, he disrupts the delicate process. The roots can't take hold, the soil becomes unstable, and what could have blossomed is now stunted. The gardener's obsession with results has become the very thing that kills potential. This metaphor mirrors how we often approach life. We set goals, make plans, and then obsess. We micromanage every step, overanalyze every outcome, and panic when things don't move on our timeline. We believe that if we just push harder, stress more, and stay relentlessly involved, we can force life to cooperate. But life is not clay we can shape at will. Stoic philosophy reminds us that while action is within our power, results are not. Epictetus teaches, some things are up to us, and some things are not. The clarity in that simple statement is profound. Your responsibility is in the effort, not the outcome. Letting go, then, is not an act of surrender. It's an act of wisdom. It is understanding where your power ends and where the flow of nature begins. Releasing control doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care deeply, but wisely. You commit fully to the process while detaching from the results. You show up, do the work, stay disciplined, and then you trust. You trust that the seed will sprout when it's ready. You trust that your efforts, planted with intention, will bear fruit in due time. And if they don't, you learn, you adjust, and you plant again. Many people mistake this letting go for passivity, but there is nothing passive about inner stillness. To stop meddling and start trusting takes courage. It takes discipline to walk away from an unfinished chapter without anxiety. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, offers us this reminder. Don't worry if things are difficult now. Everything unfolds as it should. When you stop forcing life to conform to your schedule, you begin to move in harmony with it. This harmony creates space for better ideas, for unexpected breakthroughs, for peace of mind. In your patience, growth often happens quietly, just out of sight. In truth, the most transformative moments in life usually emerge not when we grip tighter, but when we release. Think about the relationships that flourish when there's mutual respect, not possession. Think about creative breakthroughs that arise not under pressure but in relaxed moments of clarity. Life, like the seasons, operates in cycles. There is a time to sow, a time to tend, and a time to let the earth do its quiet work. The Stoics understood this rhythm. They didn't chase outcomes, they aligned themselves with virtue and let the rest follow. To release control is to embrace a deeper power, the power of presence. When you're no longer fixated on the finish line, you become more alive in the steps. Each day becomes meaningful, not just as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. That's the true beauty of planting without forcing growth. You find contentment in the act, not just the result. You begin to trust the unfolding of life, knowing that whatever happens, you've done your part with integrity and intention. So the next time you feel tempted to rush your journey or manipulate your timeline, remember the gardener. Plant with purpose, water with care, then step back. Let go of the timeline, let go of the fear. Let nature, time, and wisdom do what they were always meant to do, grow something beautiful in their own time. Your job is not to control the bloom, but to create the conditions where it can happen. 2. Flowing with reality, steering with the current. Think of a canoeist in a river. If he tries to row directly against the current, he'll tire quickly. But if he understands the water's rhythm, he can use it, steering gently, avoiding rocks, flowing around bends. That's the art of movement with less struggle. This analogy isn't just poetic, it's practical. Every day, we face situations where resistance feels noble, but it's ultimately unproductive. The wise person doesn't waste energy cursing the river. He studies its patterns, adjusts his oar, and moves in alignment with its flow. By doing so, he not only conserves energy, but also arrives at his destination with greater clarity and calm. Seneca reminded us that fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. This isn't fatalism, it's freedom through acceptance. When we resist the natural course of things, we become rigid and brittle. Life's current will still move, whether we fight it or not. The Stoic insight is that peace is found not in controlling outcomes, but in choosing how we respond to them. There is a quiet power in aligning with reality instead of demanding that reality align with us. When we willingly cooperate with the inevitable, we find not defeat, but resilience. We move with grace instead of being dragged through turmoil. Life is not here to crush us, but neither will it bend for us. It is impartial, unpredictable, and vast, like the river. Our perception defines whether we sink or stay afloat. Do we see challenges as walls that block us, or as doors that redirect us? This subtle shift in mindset transforms hardship into training. A lost job becomes a lesson in reinvention. A failed relationship becomes a mirror to our own growth. Every event carries both a sting and a seed. The sting may hurt, but the seed, if nurtured, can blossom into new strength. Many of us waste precious energy resisting what has already happened. The traffic jam, the cancelled interview, the relationship that ended, these moments are part of life's unpredictable current. When we fight them, we only exhaust ourselves. When we accept them, we begin to see what else is possible. Acceptance is not weakness, it is a strategy. It says, this is what is, now what will I do with it? Rather than clinging to how things should be, we gain control by facing things as they are. The time we spend arguing with the past is time stolen from our future. This isn't to say we must approve of every event. Stoicism doesn't ask us to love injustice or pretend that pain is pleasure. What it does teach is that we have agency in our interpretation. We may not choose the storm, but we choose how we sail through it. That's the power of flowing with reality. It gives us choices where before there seemed to be none. We can protest the rain, or we can learn to plant in it. By releasing our grip on how things must go, we free our hands to build something with what actually is. To flow is to adapt, not to give in, but to move smartly. Adaptation is strength in motion. It's not surrendering to life's chaos, it's dancing with it. Think of a skilled martial artist. She doesn't block every blow with brute force. She redirects, she evades, she uses her opponent's momentum. The same applies to daily life. When we respond with flexibility instead of rigidity, we conserve our inner resources. We bend so we don't break. We pivot so we don't fall. And in doing so, we become more durable, more grounded, and more alive. Life isn't a straight climb. It's a dance. Some steps are forward, others are sideways. Some days bring elevation, others bring stillness or descent. But every movement plays a role in the rhythm. When we stop demanding linear progress, we begin to appreciate the richness of the journey. Growth isn't always visible. Often, it happens underground, quiet, slow, hidden. But it's happening. Flowing with reality means trusting that even pauses and detours have purpose. They may prepare us, protect us, or position us for something greater. Sailing isn't about overpowering the wind, it's about trimming your sails. You don't control the wind's direction or strength, but you can control how you respond to it. A sailor reads the environment, makes adjustments, and moves with skill, not brute force. The Stoic lives the same way. We don't expect calm seas, but we prepare for rough waters. We don't expect life to be fair, but we choose to act with virtue anyway. The wind may howl, but the sails, our choices, determine whether we flounder or glide. 3. The wisdom of timing. Trusting nature's clock. In our rush to arrive, we often forget that nature does not rush, and yet everything is accomplished. Seasons change without fanfare. Flowers bloom without panic. The tide doesn't crash forward because of insecurity. It flows with rhythm and certainty. We, too, are part of this greater ecosystem, and yet we act as if we are separate from its laws. We try to force progress, demand instant results, and measure our worth against artificial timelines. But true wisdom is found not in how fast we move, but in how aligned we are with the right moment. A tree doesn't bloom before its roots are ready. It spends seasons anchoring deep into the earth before it dares to show its flowers. The same is true of us. Growth that's rushed is fragile. Development that's forced can collapse under pressure. So why do we expect to master life, love, success, or healing without giving ourselves the time to build strong roots first? Comparison is often to blame. We look at others' highlight reels and forget the years of unseen work that went into their overnight success. But nature reminds us, nothing worthwhile blooms before its time. A baby bird doesn't force its wings to fly before the strength arrives. It waits quietly as its body prepares. It trusts the process. And yet we, as humans, feel ashamed for not having it all figured out immediately. We fear falling behind, being judged, or missing out. But this mindset only leads to suffering. Rushing robs us of learning. It strips us of presence, and in many cases, it causes us to move forward too soon, unprepared and ungrounded. When we push for what we're not ready for, we may get it, but we won't be able to sustain it. Marcus Aurelius asked himself often, do I rush through the task, or do I do it thoughtfully and calmly? He knew that patience wasn't laziness, it was a form of strength, the kind of strength that refuses to act from panic or ego, the strength to trust that preparation matters more than appearance, that readiness isn't something to fake. Aurelius was not idle, he was deliberate, and that deliberation gave him clarity in chaos, peace under pressure, and resilience in the face of adversity. That's what patience truly is, grounded power. Ambition, when impatient, turns toxic. It becomes a trap rather than a tool. It pushes us toward burnout, anxiety, and self-loathing. We confuse motion with progress and busyness with purpose, but ambition aligned with timing becomes powerful. It becomes a force of quiet confidence. Instead of pushing blindly, it prepares. Instead of fearing the unknown, it studies and adapts. It knows that sometimes the best move is to pause, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. to wait not because we're afraid to act, but because we want to act well. There is a profound difference between waiting passively and waiting with purpose. Passive waiting is marked by helplessness, but purposeful waiting is deeply active. It is a form of training, observation, and preparation. Just like the archer who doesn't release the arrow until the aim is right, you must sometimes hold tension until your moment arrives. That tension isn't failure, it's part of your refinement. The longer you align yourself with what matters, the more accurate and powerful your eventual shot becomes. You are not late, you are not behind, you are unfolding. Every season of your life serves a purpose. Some seasons are for sowing, others for resting, and still others for reaping. It's easy to romanticize the harvest and ignore the long months of quiet cultivation, but without those unseen efforts, nothing lasting would ever grow. Trust that even in your stillness, something is happening. Growth is occurring. Foundation is forming. Patience is not the enemy of progress. It is its companion. The more we embrace the natural pace of progress, the more we enjoy the path, not just the destination. And that enjoyment, that presence, is often the very fuel we need to arrive stronger and wiser. When you stop rushing, you start seeing. You notice the lessons along the way. You build deeper relationships. You appreciate your own evolution. Life becomes less about proving and more about living. And ironically, that's when success comes, when we are no longer desperate for it, but ready for it. So trust nature's clock. It does not fail. Let your journey unfold with care. There is no shame in taking your time. There is wisdom in moving when the time is right, and peace in knowing you don't need to control everything. All you need to do is keep showing up, keep growing, and trust that what's meant for you is not gone. It's simply waiting for you to be ready. 4. Action and acceptance, the archer's secret. Imagine an archer. She rises with the sun, not to conquer the world, but to master herself. Each morning she takes her place, grips the bow, and practices not just the mechanics, but the mindset. She focuses on her breath, aligns her body, and draws the string with a steady hand. There is a grace in her motion, a quiet devotion to the process. Her attention is not on the bullseye, but on her form. Her victory is not measured by the hit, but by the discipline of the release. This image is more than metaphor. It is the Stoic ideal in action. The archer embodies the two pillars of Stoic practice: precise effort and radical acceptance. She understands what is in her control, the training, the focus, the posture, and what is not, the wind, the movement of the target, the unpredictable sway of chance. Once the arrow leaves her fingers, her influence ends. She does not chase it. She does not curse the wind. She simply prepares again. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher and former slave, taught this clearly. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. He urged us to act as though everything depends on us, but to accept the results as though nothing does. This is not contradiction. It is the harmony of effort and surrender. You do your part fully, without laziness or hesitation, and then you release your grip on the outcome. In this, there is both power and peace. Many people confuse this mindset with passivity or fatalism, but this couldn't be further from the truth. True Stoicism demands rigorous action. It demands integrity, courage, and persistence. But it also teaches that obsession over results is a kind of self-inflicted torment. When you believe that you must control every outcome, you create anxiety, frustration, and disappointment. You attach your worth to things outside your command. That is not strength. It is slavery. When you free yourself from outcome dependence, something surprising happens. You become more effective, not less. Your actions flow without the friction of fear. You're less distracted by what others think or how it will all end. You do the work because it is good to do the work. You show up because that's who you are. You aim carefully and shoot because it's honorable to aim and shoot, not because you need the applause. This principle doesn't just apply to tasks or goals. It applies deeply to relationships. You can love someone with your whole heart. You can listen, speak with honesty, give time, share your dreams, and create space for connection. But no matter how sincere your effort, you cannot make someone love you back. You cannot force someone to stay, to grow, or to understand you. Their path is theirs. Your responsibility is to be clear in yours. Clinging to relationships, to people who have changed or no longer fit, is like gripping the arrow after it's been released. You create suffering by refusing to let go. Stoicism teaches that peace comes from allowing others to be who they are, even if it means watching them walk away. This is not coldness. This is wisdom. You love deeply, and when it is time, you let go with dignity. Think of relationships like gardens. You can prepare the soil, plant the seeds, water the roots, and pull the weeds. But you cannot command the rain. You cannot stop the seasons. Some relationships bloom brightly and briefly, others take root and last for decades. Each has its own season, its own purpose. When we try to force permanence, we miss the beauty of what is. The Stoic Way is not one of detachment from life. It is deep engagement with life, minus the illusion of control. It is the ability to act wholeheartedly while holding the results with open hands. Whether it's your career, your friendships, or your ambitions, the same truth applies. Give everything, but own only your effort. So be like the archer. Learn your craft, show up daily, prepare with care. When the moment comes, release the arrow without fear. Then, step back. Do not chase it through the wind. Do not demand that it land where you wish. Trust that your aim, your training, and your character are enough. And if the arrow misses the mark, begin again. That's the archer's secret. That's the Stoic Way. 5. Stillness, adaptability, and graceful power. Stillness is not stagnation. It is the foundation of all clear movement. In a world driven by urgency and noise, we often confuse stillness with passivity. But stillness, in the Stoic sense, is a poised and deliberate state. It is a conscious decision to remain grounded while the world whirls around you. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right thing at the right moment. Like the calm eye in a hurricane, it gives you perspective, control, and the ability to act from a place of clarity rather than compulsion. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, practiced stillness daily, not as an escape, but as a sharpening of his internal compass. He ruled an empire, led armies, and navigated constant turmoil, yet he found time for quiet, reflection, and journaling. His meditations reveal a mind constantly engaged in slowing down, questioning impulse, and searching for truth. For him, silence was not emptiness. It was full of meaning. Through silence, we listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. Through waiting, we learn, not just about the world, but about how we truly feel, what truly matters, and where we must go next. The Stoics did not seek power through force. They believed in a deeper, subtler strength, a power not rooted in dominance but in clarity. Clarity arises when we are not clouded by emotions or dragged around by impulses. It comes from observation, patience, and a willingness to sit with discomfort. It is the courage to see things as they are without rushing to control them. This clarity turns ordinary decisions into wise actions. That pause before a decision, that breath before the storm, is where your strength lives. It's in that pause that you reclaim your autonomy. When life throws chaos your way, and it will, it is adaptability, not rigidity, that keeps you afloat. Rigidity snaps under pressure, but adaptability bends and adjusts, always moving forward in new form. The Stoics saw setbacks not as punishments, but as essential parts of the process. Failures are not final. They are not the end, but redirections. Refinements. Every misstep is a step toward mastery if we remain open to change. The most powerful people are not those who never fall, but those who rise in new, wiser forms each time. Adaptability is graceful power, the kind that doesn't fight the storm, but learns to sail with the wind. True ambition is calm. It does not scream, it does not panic, it acts. The modern world equates ambition with noise, urgency, and the need to be constantly seen. But real ambition, the kind that builds empires of meaning and character, moves in silence. It's not about chasing everything. It's about choosing what matters and pursuing it with steady, focused intention. True ambition works in the background. It moves with discipline, not drama. It climbs without spectacle. And when the moment comes, it doesn't cling to the outcome. It acts, and then it lets go. Letting go is an advanced form of strength. It takes more power to release than to control. The Stoics taught us to do our duty with excellence and then surrender the result. Why? Because outcomes are never fully in our hands. Circumstances shift, people change, and fortune is unpredictable. To cling is to suffer, but to act with intention and let go with grace, that is mastery. That is how you maintain peace in a world you cannot control. Stillness, adaptability, and graceful power are not separate virtues. They are deeply connected. Stillness gives you clarity. Clarity gives you adaptability. And adaptability, rooted in wisdom, becomes graceful power. This is the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need applause. It simply is. You know it when you see it, in those who move quietly, endure storms, and make decisions that ripple far beyond words. It is not aggressive, but it is undeniable. So in the chaos of life, cultivate stillness, not as a retreat, but as a strategy. Practice adaptability, not as weakness, but as strength, and pursue power, not through force, but through clarity, intention, and grace. That is the Stoic way. That is how you endure, evolve, and rise. Living lightly, living fully, to live without struggle is not to live without effort. It is to know where to place your energy and where to release it. It is to act with intention and detach from obsession. To be strong not through force, but through alignment with life's greater rhythm. This is Stoicism in motion, a way of moving forward while being still, a way of caring deeply without clinging, a way of rising without resisting. Let your life be like water, fluid, adaptable, steady. Trust the timing, embrace the effort, and when the moment calls, let go with grace. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply allow.